All right, guys, here we go. Kinesiology 231 Module 4, and this will be an extension of the conversation on speed and agility, but this will be more my annotations regarding those different drills or tests that they have in the book. And the book lists 4 of them. And with that, I've already offered my opinion stating I don't believe these are great tests for people who are older, middle-aged, if you will, or even older population. These are definitely, and even the norms in the book show that these tests are more for college age and youth athletes. But let's go ahead and dig in. We'll go over a couple things here, one of which is when you look at these tests, each one's slightly different, and each one offers a different area of opportunity in teaching and coaching. So with this, you have a 40-yard course set up, you have a start and a finish. With all of these tests, the book notes that on the signal to begin, the participant will sprint or start the drill. And I have to tell you, when you get into coaching and you work with your athlete will be down here, and for you to shout or drop your hand, etc., is a response to a stimuli, and that's a teachable skill. So to that end, if you're going to do it that way for all of these drills, then it becomes, okay, you have a teachable skill that you can work on if you're willing to teach that, or if you're going to do it that way, you better teach that skill. So the way most of these drills are actually done is or are this. You have an individual down on the start line and the test administrators down here on the finish line. And upon some signal where you communicate back and forth that the person is good to go, the person who's administering the test will then change their position, and they'll perhaps raise an arm, are you okay? And at the start they'll say, yes, I'm okay, and they'll go into their start routine. Foot down, knee behind a line, crowding the line with the hand, with the down hand, getting situated, ready, set, and then they go, they take off. But what happens is the person who's administering the test watches this whole pre-choreography and watches the person go through their whole start sequence, and then when there's movement on their end, that's when the administrator takes or starts the watch. The person runs their sprint. Meanwhile, the administrator is no longer watching the person, they're watching the finish line. When you watch that line, as soon as any part of their body crosses that line, then you go ahead and stop the test. So you're watching the fixed line, not the moving participant when you do this. And to some degree, you can even make the argument between right eye and left eye dominant, and you use your hand in like a knife position just to denote where the line is, and you can now close one eye or the other to basically make sure you're using your dominant eye, but that's a whole other conversation. So the participants at one end, the administrators at the other end, signals given, yes, I'm ready to go. They get down in their start position, they go through the pre-choreography. As soon as they take off and have their initial explosive start, then the administrator hits the watch. They then turn their body position so they're facing the line, and once they're facing the line and the person crosses that line, the watch is stopped. So with that, you have skills that can be used are acceleration, good running mechanics as they run through. Pretty straightforward. If we look at this next one, which is all about lactic acid, holy smokes. But this drill itself is usually done wholesale, meaning you'll have 6 athletes, 7 athletes doing this drill at one time. It depends how many lanes on a track you may have. 6, 8, 7, however you set this up. And you'll have different flights, and you'll do different flights for an administrative purpose. So your administration of this will be maybe a group of defensive backs or a group of outfielders. They do their test, and then Group B is waiting, Group C is waiting. When they get done and they're recovering, Group B goes. When B gets done, Group C goes, and then when C gets done, A is ready and they've had their appropriate amount of rest. So when you administer this test, you have to give that consideration in terms of if you're going to run multiple tests back to back and require your athletes to be within a certain work or time constraint of maybe 10%, like I noted in another presentation, you have to be able to manage that correctly. But this is usually done wholesale, and this is done where the person who starts the test is the administrator. Ready, set, go, and everybody takes off. So with that, the start-finish line is where the administrator is. On your mark, set, go. Everybody takes off. They touch, 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 touch. And you call out times, or you have people who are assisting you take the time down as people come through, and the person who's administering a test will call those out. Now, if we use different biometrics, then it becomes a much simpler conversation. If you're using like Catapult or some other accelerometer, that becomes a really easy conversation. But in this situation, when you're running this type of test, a 300-yard shuttle, you have areas of opportunity that include start, acceleration, deceleration, change of direction, acceleration, running technique, deceleration, pivot, turn, accelerate, change of direction. So you have a couple different areas of opportunity that are not only just tied to the lactic acid component, being able to tolerate that better, but you have different areas of opportunity that include change of direction, good running technique and good mechanics, the ability to decelerate, and then when you change direction, be able to do so in a very quick and precise manner that allows you to get as much yield out of your change of direction as possible. So again, these are just my experiences. Now we get into this, the t-test. With the t-test, same idea, you have a start-finish line and your administrator, so says the book, starts the test. Now oftentimes this is done where the administrator is standing, not initiating the test, but the participant takes off on their own when they are ready. This is a sprint, 10 yards, and it's a shuffle in one direction, shuffle back across in another direction, shuffle back, and then sprint. Now this is done a couple different ways depending upon who's administering the drill. I've seen it done sprint, 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 sprint. I've also seen sprint, shuffle, shuffle, and then sprint back. I've seen that as well. I've seen different variations where coaches will do sprint around, and then they go around the cone, sprint, go around the cone the other way, and then come back. It just depends on the coach, but the standard for this test is sprint, shuffle, 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 back pedal. So now areas of opportunity. With this, you're sprinting forward. So you have to work on short acceleration from 0 to try to get to maximal as much as possible in 10 yards. Change your center of gravity to drop your COG a little bit to shuffle. Work on foot mechanics to shuffle one way. Plant, push through the big toe to shuffle back going the other way. Push through the big toe, lean back into the drill to accelerate back in, and then back pedal out of it. So there's a bunch of different coaching points in here that you can use with your athletes. And you know, it's not like you're running the shuttle or a 300-yard shuttle or a 40-yard dash every single week you're with your athletes, but you can work on the acceleration component. You can work on this pivot, turn, change direction. You can work on pushing through the big toe in a series of other drills. And like I mentioned with that cake model, you're trying to have a transferability of skill. And a transferability of skill goes from very low barrier type of teaching mechanics of a drill to working on parts of a drill, to doing the drill itself, to then implementing those into the practice environment and the game environment. It's all about the transferability. So let's go ahead and take this now a step further. Pro agility. This is all about sprinting. So this is different than your T that we just saw, because and the other part of this is you're starting right in the middle of a drill and there's no sprinting forward or backpedaling with this. It is quite literally sprint, touch and go, sprint across, touch and go, and sprint through the finish line. Very short, tight, concise drill. Same thing as before. Once a signal is given, usually this is done where you have your person settle in, they get right in the middle, they get in their good athletic stance, and when they go, you start to watch. That's normally how it's administered at the college level, and quite frankly, it's how I've done it forever and a day. And with this, again, your areas of opportunity, it's a very tight drill, so you have to be very refined to run a fast time, a lot like your T. And to that end, you can work on those mechanics and those skills to really refine this and have a limited amount of wasted movement. Same thing. Your person here is starting on a line. Your administrator is standing right here facing that person, and you'll usually run, at least what I'll do is I'll have them do a pass in one direction first, and then I have them go the other direction next. You can do 2 to the right, and then you can do 2 of them to the left, meaning they do one set of 5, 10, 5, then they do their second 5, 10, 5, recover, come back, and then they do 5, 10, 5, and then they go 5, 10, 5 again. So the way you'll administer that is you'll have the test, 5, 10, 5 to the right, recover, then they do maybe another 5, 10, 5 to the right, recover, then they do a 5, 10, 5 to the left, to recover, then a 5, 10, 5 to the left yet again to recover. So it just depends if you're going to do 2 passes on each side or 1 pass on each side for this drill. All right, guys, I really thought it was important to go over some of those nuanced things, and you'll see a couple questions on the quiz dictated towards those. And yeah, I think it's really important to know when you look at like athletics in general and you look at some of the drills we're talking about, they're not just there for you to evaluate and then wash your hands of them. You know, they offer you areas of opportunity and coaching points that you can implement into a training program with your athletes. All right, guys, have a good one.